Welcome to Trading Group 1. Today is September 17th, 2019, and I'm in Belgium today, so we're deployed east. So, and sorry about the host key thing last week. I thought you had access to it on the calendar. I'll make sure you do for next week because I'm again gonna be on an airplane on Tuesday. So if you would be so kind.
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, no, I've had it sometimes, but last week it didn't show, and I looked everywhere, and I just couldn't find it, so.
Okay, well, I just got to make sure that you've got access to it, so I'll do that.
Put it in my calendar here.
Okay, let's see. I wanted to share something here. I've only got one screen on the laptop today, so let's see. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so I put this link on the resources menu called Broker Survey. And there's actually 3 sections. I'm waiting for more data for the third one, but just where do you trade, what do you trade, and when do you trade? So if you click on this button to take the broker survey, there's just a couple of questions, and just if you've answered it before, it'll just update whatever your answers were in the past. But if you could just do that, I think we got 450 people or so that have answered it, so that's great. But I added this time frame, so how much in the future are you trading? So that'd be kind of handy to know. And then again, the results just back here. So as predicted, most people are using Thinkorswim, and then IB's the next highest use. Fidelity kind of surprised me, and TradeStation. I figured TradeStation would have some, but not as many with Fidelity. It's probably more IRAs and that kind of stuff, I'm guessing. But that was kind of a little bit of surprise. And then the distribution of what people are trading. Of course, options is pretty predominant, but quite a few trading futures options and futures, and then just equities, of course. Few people trading currencies, and one person is trading bonds. So yeah, that'd be great if people could just fire away on that. The more data we have, the better. Let's see. The other news is I finally got the updated version of ExperSignal or ExperCharts. So I just closed the trade right before this meeting I put on Friday. It was just a short euro trade. Entered at 11 or 1.115 and closed it at 1.1128. So I made 28 pips. But the back testing results look pretty good. Let's see, I actually have the software running here. So Daniel has this thing he calls autopilot. I love the icon. It's like an attitude indicator. So you can just turn it off and on. But these signals that he's generating are based on different bar lengths, 6-hour, 12-hour, 24, and 48-hour bars. And I went through basically the whole thing from top to bottom. And let me bring up my spreadsheet that I had. Let's see, where is it? Here it is. Yeah, we can remove those. So here I went through all the signals that he had, and then I haven't finished getting this futures points per signal, but the points per signal is based on the price of the underlying Forex at the time of the signal. So if I aggregated all these down at the bottom, the two I like the best are these 12 and 24-hour bars. The 12-hour bars has a mean of about almost 17 days in between signals, max 47, min 2, the median 13 and a half. And from May of 2017 to now, or September of 2019, there were 55 of those. And then the 24-hour bars, you can see the numbers for that. And then I wanted to know how many points for each signal was it generating. So on this 12-hour bar, the median was about 400 pips. So that's reasonable, 400 pips in 2 weeks. And then the 24-hour bar is a little bit more, 630, but they're longer term signals. So I did two just quick back tests. One was just buying and selling the ETF. I did this is on the British pound. So let's see if I go here, British pound. Here it is. So here's all the signals that it had, and all I did was I when I went long, I bought 100 shares. So when I went short, I reversed it, sold 200, so I was net minus 100. And when I went long again, I bought 200 and just flipped back and forth. And it did pretty well. Had just one loser. Equity growth is kind of crazy as you'd expect. But again, the signals were just every every couple weeks, so it wasn't too crazy. You didn't have to sit there and day trade it or anything. It was pretty easy to follow. And then I tried one with the 24-hour column or the 12-hour column, and I used options that were at least 30 days to expiration, up to 45. I think maybe a couple were 50, but 30 minimum. And this actually had some leverage. So I was doing 10 contracts. The average price was maybe $1.50, $1.25, $1.75 most of the time. Once in a while, it hit $2. So I just called it, $2,000 of margin. So I just plopped it in at a $20,000 equity starting balance for an account, and then it ended up at 127,000. So it was, again, pretty crazy numbers. But that was just a quick buying at the money puts and calls when the signals switched. So that was an interesting test. So today I close it just because the euro. There must have been some news or something with the economy in Europe, because the software started turning positive and going long. So the 12 and 24-hour bars haven't changed yet. There hasn't been a signal. So probably it'll well, who knows if it'll keep going south or not, but it's possible it could change. So I just wanted to take a quick profit in the account I'm trading, and made 28 pips at 12.50 a pip. So that's what over a little over $300 in less than 2 days. Um, but anyway, it's looking good, and I just wanted to let people know about it. I've got a URL actually on the forums. I made this forum down here public, this ExperSignal general discussion. So there's a link to it in here somewhere, I think. Oh, maybe I didn't put it in there. But it's just airmirror.com/XPS, like ExperSignal. So there's a little poll here of what kind of stuff you're trading. So again, if you want to answer the poll, that'd be great. Looks like we've had 5 to 10 people answer it. So that's kind of what's been going on with me. Anybody have any questions about the ExperSignal stuff? I guess I did want to mention that Daniel doesn't have data for anything else but currencies, because we're some subscribers to this thing, and he gets some money, and then he'll buy some data, and we can do other symbols like ES and maybe crude and gold and bonds, or who knows what. But anyway, for now, it's going to start out with currencies, and I just wanted to see what people wanted to trade. I mean, they could trade the underlying Forex, but it doesn't look like it's too popular at this point. So I'll probably stick with futures and futures options, and just keep experimenting with different types of ways to take advantage of directional signals that are, going to last on an average of about 13, 14 days. So it's looking pretty good, and just jump in on the trial and give me your 2 cents, and we'll see where it goes. So I don't know if there's any questions. Probably not, but.
So hey Tom, I'm just curious back on the survey results. You had the charts and stuff.
For this one?
For like what broker to use that one.
Oh, the broker survey. Yeah,
I'm
that's
back.
Resources broker survey, right?
What'd you use to produce that?
I use a library from Advanced Soft Engineering. Let's see, Advanced Soft Engineering called ChartDirector.
Oh,
It's actually a really nice library. It works with tons of stuff, Cold
yeah.
Fusion, Ruby, Python, Java, ASP, C Sharp, etc. And it's a one-time fee. I think oh, I can't even remember. I bought it so long ago. But it's very reasonable. So a developer license is 99 bucks.
Okay.
It's just pretty affordable, but it has all kinds of crazy charts that you can generate, and it does a really nice job. I've had it for years,
Cool.
so that's what I do for that. So that's one of my little secrets, I guess.
Yeah.
It does a nice job.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's all I've got. What are you working on, Tim?
Oh, I'm well, I just have one road trip on and one other butterfly type trade and all those covered calls still, but working on finding some good dividend stocks to build up the dividend portfolio. Um, so that's not options, I guess, but that's what I'll be working on today. And then bonds have come down a bit since January, and so uh, their yields aren't that attractive, right now. So, uh, but I have a question maybe for the group. I'm just interested what people think. If you had, say, $10,000 to put into something that had to be safe, an option strategy, maybe, what would you do? What strategy would you use? Lower than normal return is okay, but
Something for like a retirement account?
yeah, something that had to be safe and maybe not too much work. And what would you choose? I don't have the answer to this, but I just interested what comes to mind for people in the group.
How about metals?
About, I'm sorry, I didn't hear metals. Is that what you said?
Gold and silver.
Gold and silver options or ETFs, or what comes to mind when you say that?
You can do options on either one of them. Whichever investment style you're more comfortable with.
Okay.
But if you look at the charts on silver and gold, they definitely have broke out to the upside. Now
Yeah.
they're checking up to back and fill, but there sure seems to be more upside coming.
Yeah, right. What kind of option strategy would you do if you wanted it to be safe and not a lot of work?
Well, you could do a call instead of a stock.
Like a leaf kind of thing?
No. When I buy in the money calls instead of stock, like on Apple, I never pay more than $20 for Apple. Even though it's trading at 220. You find like an 80 delta call, and then use that as your base, and then sell around it.
Okay, so some kind of diagonal covered calls, basically.
Well, no, you can do a bunch of things. You can, you could treat it as a collar. As you said, if you want something that's low maintenance, do an in the money call, but collar it.
Okay. Okay.
It's a lot better or efficient use of capital.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a friend who was doing covered calls on Amazon, but he was buying the stock weekly, right? Buying the stock and then selling calls. I'm like, what are you doing? You can do this with a lot less capital.
Right. It's a lot of risk.
Yeah, and risk, right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, thanks.
So Tim, I know you closed your November trade already. You thinking about opening up another one, or what's your plan?
I want to, but I would like to get a good opportunity for it, and haven't seen it. You know, I kept thinking any day now would be the day because of all the stuff happening, but market doesn't seem to care right now. You know, I'd like to see 20-point down day in SPX or more um, before I open a new trade, ideally. So you look at the uh, expiration cycles. What have we got? We've got 20 December is still a little far out at 93 days, but next week maybe, you know, it'll be in window. And then 29 November is in window. So those would be the two possibilities right now if I was to do it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would put I'd put a trade on with some kind of a hedge on right off the bat, so my delta would be zero or maybe even negative for a while, because of all the news and because this is September and October, right? When traditionally there are some wild swings, and so I'd want to protect myself against the possibility of that.
Right. Makes sense.
Um, Russell, I mean, it turns out I do have a trade in Russell right now, but Russell seems to be disconnected from SPX. You know how they usually would go somewhat in step up or down.
Mm-hmm.
Recently we've had like 20-point up days on Russell and flat days in SPX, which is a little unusual. So I don't know what's going on with Russell, and you'd like to say one of them is leading the other one, but which one is leading who? And I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Right.
So I'm not too keen on going back into Russell right now, but I'd do SPX if I did something new. And I'm playing in my personal accounts anyway. I'm playing with futures on crude oil and gold. And turns out on crude oil, I had sold puts a day before the news came out and benefited from that. Sunday when futures opened, I went to sell it because it made a pretty decent profit with a jump up of $6 or something in oil. But they had halted trading, so
Oh, did they really?
they did. I couldn't get I could get my order in. It just kept saying rejected. And then after about 15 minutes, I guess the options were trading again. I was able to close my position. So yeah, oil got kind of crazy there for a little while. Well, still
Yeah. I think I saw on CNN it was up like 20% at one point.
it shot up about that much right off the bat, but then it was down more like 12% for the rest of the day, I guess. But yeah, and I look at it right now, it's down 3.4 points. So that's a big move for oil right there.
That is big move.
Anyway, so that's what I'm keeping busy with. Still doing covered calls, those campaign style covered calls, and a lot of them are just trudging away, week by week or whatever cycle I get them on, building up premium. And at some point, numbers will all be suitable profit, and I'll close them out.
Do you have any parking trades on?
No, I haven't done any parkings for a while. Although, for example, if this oil thing had caused, let's say, a 60-point down day in SPX, I probably would have put a parking on, at least a one, small one.
Oh, and we're kind of finalizing our trip to the West Coast. So Gabby and I are going to be there in Seattle on Sunday, the 13th of October, and leaving on Tuesday, the 15th. So
Right
yeah,
up.
we'd like to see you when we're there. And then
Yeah.
I saw Dan's here. So Dan, we're going to be in Brentwood from Saturday the 5th of October, leaving on Tuesday the 8th.
Hey, hi, Tom. Good morning. Good morning,
Morning.
everybody. Yeah, I got your email today. That actually sounds pretty good. Lynn won't be able to make it, but I can pop over and work out the details for.
Yeah, or Gabby and I can swing down to your place.
Well, it's easy for me to get up there. It's no problem. And just work out a day. That'll be good.
Okay, great. Look forward to seeing you.
So Tom, I'll be around, and I'm looking on my calendar on the 13th. It says I have Cuba hijack talk, and there's an airline pilot who got hijacked to Cuba giving a talk at the local bookstore on the 13th. So, but that's in the evening, so no big deal. Maybe you want to come. He wrote a book about it.
Yeah, maybe.
I've seen his talk before. It's a good talk.
Yeah, my old squadron commander's up there too. He's an executive at Boeing, and I know he wants to have dinner, so we might want to have dinner with you guys too. So one of those 2 nights we'll probably have dinner with you, and the other night we'll have dinner with my old squadron commander.
Sounds good.
So I'll coordinate with him and see what day is better for him.
Well, let's see.
Oh, it looks like Bruno's here too. So let me unmute Bruno if I can. Maybe you can't unmute him. Hey Bruno, are you here?
Yes, can you hear me?
Ah, there you are. Yep.
Yeah.
So
maybe the muting and muting is different because I'm on my phone. Yeah.
well, maybe I was trying
Yeah.
to unmute you at the same time you were trying to unmute yourself, and we canceled it.
No, I wasn't doing anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. Yeah. It's trades are almost boring. I mean, there's very little to do at the moment.
You want to show us your rhinos?
Yeah, sure.
Are you
got
in
too many
Lille?
windows. Yes, I'm in Lille. Yeah. I just don't know. Okay. I'll share my screen. Yeah.
I was going to say, Gabby and I are in Antwerp until next Tuesday, so it'd be great if we could hook up sometime.
Yeah. This weekend is cool. Yeah. Yeah. Can you see something?
I can. It looks like soap.
Okay. Yeah, it is soap. I'm actually testing September expiry to see whether price is okay. I've got some small issues with in the money puts and some in the but it's difficult to model properly when the volume drops sharply. I mean, at this time, I'm sure there's only a little bit of. I mean, most traders have rolled over, and there's just a tiny bit of trading just around the money. So yeah, so I'm just testing a few things, and I am also testing. Maybe you can't see it here, but there's a slight difference between the expiration line and the model price, because I am actually. I mean, it's really the finicky stuff. I'm actually trying to price whether there's a difference between Thursday at the close and the actual, because you can still roll over your positions until 9:30 on Friday. So there can be a tiny bit of theta. Anyway, I was just playing around that. While I'm at it, I've done something that some people have requested for a while. Is I also now plot the weighted Vega. Well,
you got weighted Vega in.
Yeah, and as I suspected, for a very short dated expiration, it doesn't make any difference. But anyway, I'll do another round table or something, because I'm really close now. It's looking good. Anyway, so let's cancel this. Disconnect. Anyway, the Rhinos. The Rhinos are, at the moment, they're kind of a walk in the park. I mean, there's nothing to do. And not that they produce a lot, but this is my October trade. It's about $900 and good cover, just in case the market drops sharply. there's not much Vega this late, so I suspect that even if the market drops, there wouldn't be too much flattening. So this is a good-looking trade. Of course, I don't have much theta because I'm out of the tent, but as you can see, there's no loss on the upside. And the B2B trade, the buy the book variant, which is simpler and closer to the guidelines, that one also doesn't have any upside loss. So it's also looking good. And my November trades, I haven't done anything to them. Of course, a pullback would be good, but at the same time, it doesn't have as much cover on a downside. So, but they're looking okay. So if the market drops to 2,900, it should still be all right. So really nothing to do on SPX, which is good because it gives me more time to focus on my stuff. And I do have a baby Rhino running. Let me see. I checked at the open, it was doing okay. Yeah, it looks okay. Flat delta. Yeah, the ratios, I mean, it's a ratio trade. So my delta to theta is next to 0. Vega to theta is 25%. So it's looking good. And I haven't done anything to it. So I just entered the trade on Friday. Okay, so you see nothing. So no adjustments. So yeah, it's at this time really it's really easy. Yeah. Of course, now I'm happy I don't have to enter a trade because volatility is dropping. Although it's still okay on long dated or medium dated options. But September volatility has dropped very, very sharply, very quickly. I actually closed my September trade a little bit too early. I needed to release capital because I thought that there was a bit too tight in case I would have to do something about November. So now I've got about 30-40% of planned capital available, and I'm not doing anything. So some of the guys in my group have kept the September all the way to expiration, and they probably did well. I had some call credit spreads around 3,100, so yeah, it's looking okay. It's not going to be a great year, but it's still going to be okay. Yeah. And the Russell actually, I'm actually amazed. The performance has been this one. I think it's a mistake. I didn't make that much on August the 9th. I need to go back to it. But overall, yeah, I think it's about a historical average of about 70-75% profitable. And I've really tried now to simplify the rules so that there are fewer adjustments, and also try and stick to my own rule that which all weekly traders should have. That's after 2-3 adjustments, you just close and move on to the following week. I mean, it's not a trade you want to fight. If something goes wrong on a weekly trade, just close it. So, but I'm getting now back into the routine of it, and I don't adjust that much. So, what I've found was quite interesting to do for this weekly trade is to instead of changing, putting PCS, PDS, we've had a lot of volatility swings in the last 3 to 6 months, and what I've done, which doesn't change anything to the ratios, so that's something you do more if you've got a feeling that the market may move quickly, is that I do calendar swaps. So the normal structure combos starts with 3 broken butterflies and 3 call calendars. And if you feel that, of course, the call calendar doesn't provide much hedging on the downside. So, but if you feel that, for example, there's a resistance that could break somewhere, then you do a swap. I mean, you just close one and you put a put calendar, generally about halfway to 1/3 to So roughly around, it would be around 15-20 if I had to put one on now, and that actually strengthened the trade. Yeah.
And did you see the chat? There's a question for you.
Oh no. I only have one screen, and where is the chat?
I know the feeling. So he said, can you run SOAP with a virtual IB account?
You mean the demo account? Yeah, of course. Yeah, I actually do all my testing on the demo account. Yeah. Yeah. You just need to go to your account management and allow your data descriptions to be shared between your live account and your demo account. And of course, you can't have both running at the same time, just because of that, because you can't share, or otherwise you would need to have different data subscriptions. It's strictly limited to one user at one time. So, but yeah, it works fine. Yeah.
And then, do you have a like a rough estimate of how the big project's coming along?
Oh, the guy's the professional developer, so now he just told me that he's going on an assignment for another job for 2 to 3 weeks. So, it's not only we have some disagreement on the positioning. I know I enjoy the technical stuff, and as I showed just now about testing whether there's still some SATA on the very last night, and he wants to make the bigger platform, in my view, too much targeted towards beginners. He may be right, I don't know. So maybe we will have a premium version where I can really put my stuff in. I don't know. So we have some disagreement there, but the real problem is that he's too busy. Yeah. So, but the charting is okay. We could, I mean, he doesn't want to, but we could show something now. Yeah, but and also he's testing various charting libraries, and on my software, because I use the very standard Windows libraries because they're free, and rule distribution is also free. I just had a look at your ChartDirector. I mean, it costs little, but the redistribution license is more expensive.
I think it was 500, something like that.
Okay, yeah, maybe I should look into that. Yeah,
it's still fairly reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of third-party developers filling in the gaps because Microsoft does a very shoddy work around graphics and all those things. I mean, there are definitely a few areas they're not interested in. So I suppose I will have to buy a library and the license. At the moment, I'm more looking at the licensing software for SOAP, because SOAP I will release very, very soon. At least the first version, and then before I go on to more fancy graphics, I think there's a lot of demand on some backtrader. So I can already download options data, but I need just to put it all together. So I think I will work on the backtrader before I will improve the charting.
So once your main developer gets done with his latest 2 or 3 week job, does he have a rough idea how much work is left before he can get it out there?
I don't understand why he doesn't want to show it, because all the screenshots I've seen, the bits and pieces, I think it's a very versatile environment. You can do a lot of things, and he wants to. You can basically trade your whole portfolio with all sorts of underlyings, all sorts of things. So it can be confusing. So he's actually taking the time to choose a proper display for everything. But it's looking good. I mean, as I said, the graphs are okay, calculations are okay. There are a few things I disagree with, because, for example, in SOAP, I refreshed the matrix or options chain every second, and he thinks it's not necessary. So, but I think you don't, of course, you don't want to see the figures just flashing and popping too often, but at the same time, you want to see something live, not just something frozen and just updated every 30 seconds or so. So we have some I wouldn't say argument, but we healthy debate on the look and feel, you know.
Well, maybe when you get disagreements, you can make it a user-definable choice. So.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. But again, I think he's not a very experienced trader. I mean, he knows his way around, but he's more of a developer, and so I would consider him as a beginner. And I mean, I understand that it applies to me too. I mean, when I started programming SOAP, it was mostly something that would be fine for me. One tester yesterday wanted to test a very long-dated combo, and I realized that I don't have data beyond 6 months. I mean, when you want to project your rate and everything, or even volatility, because I use the VIX Central term structure in my modeling. But I only get data for the next 6 months. So, for example, I wouldn't be able to model leaps there are some. It has been developed within the confines of my own trading style, and I have to, of course, push the envelope a bit according to feedbacks. So, but that is like when I tested February or March. Combos next March, SOAP couldn't work it. So anyway, so there are still some details to iron out, but for people, I would say for regular Rhino RTT traders, that will work fine. Yeah, and also I'm implementing. Again, that's my tendency to go into the math stuff. I've seen some interesting posts dating back from Capital Discussions from Steve Spear. That guy is very sharp, very smart trader, and I have also very interesting ideas I want to implement. He actually, for example, there's something he called the skew vega. So how the skew changes according to days to expiration and volatility as such. And he's got it's not a very fancy, sophisticated formula, but it's actually a very smart one. And when you read stuff on quant forums, a lot of options traders enjoy having some formulas sometimes on the back of an envelope or something. Because, of course, Black and Scholes is complicated. You don't want to carry the whole thing all the time. And sometimes there are very, very smart shortcuts. And those I want to implement. Like, for example, in SOAP, I have I've implemented another idea of his called UDIV or PVDIV. Or it only works for European options, but it's actually Gary who pointed me in the right direction sometime last year or the year before. You actually take off the dividend effect, and then you have UDIV is actually the underlying without the effect of the dividend. So it's been called UDIV to make it short, and it does wonders in terms of modeling, because even for European options, the dividends have an impact on modeling. That's why, for example, when you want to model SPX properly, you have to take dividend into account, even though SPX does not distribute dividends. So it's always good when you can really take them out of the equation. It involves calculating a synthetic forward and all those little things, but it works well. Yeah. Anyway, I've spoken too much. Are there maybe any other questions?
I don't see any more questions.
Okay. And on Thursday, there will be another session on options mechanics, the trading group.
How's that going?
No, it's a very small group, but sometimes I get emails, so people don't show up, but they watch the videos. So I will probably do a bit of math this Thursday. I don't want to scare people off, but it's exactly what I just said. It will be about finding some shortcuts in formulas, something that you can really easily put on an Excel spreadsheet and stuff like that. For example, traders very often use the price of a straddle to estimate volatility. That I will introduce a few of them.
Well, great.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going back to my programming now.
All right. Well, thanks, Bruno.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate
No,
it.
thank
And
you.
we'll be in touch, and I'll see what Gabby's schedule is, and maybe we can find a time this weekend to meet. And if not, we're going to be back in December for 2 weeks.
No, there's a little bit of an update here. There's a bit of an update. I will be there. Yeah, I
Oh,
forgot to. Yeah. I've been telling everyone that I miss Africa,
right.
and there's a bit of unrest, and so I wasn't too sure about going right back into South Africa. So I've chosen to go and live in Mauritius.
Oh, you're going
Which
to
is,
live there.
yeah. I'm going to test it for 6 months, and I'll see how it goes. The only problem is feeling claustrophobic on a small island, but at least during the few hours I don't work, I should have something nice to look at. Yeah, so that should be yeah.
And when are you going?
Actually, timing is perfect for this coming weekend because I'm flying the following weekend. So
Okay.
on the 28th. Yeah.
Well, we'll do our best to make some time for you to meet. Maybe we can meet in Ghent or something.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Cool.
And I know you know Daniel, so I know a lot of people don't know what Expert Charts is, but you and I have been exposed to it for a long
Yes.
time.
Yeah. So maybe some of you would like to have a bit of sunshine. Yeah.
Yeah, that looks nice.
Yeah, it is nice. Yeah.
So how did you pick Mauritius?
There's some private matters. Wanted something because I still have a girlfriend. I don't see her very often, but in South Africa. So I wanted to be close, but I also want her to be closer to some French-speaking environment. And Mauritius is perfectly bilingual.
Mm.
So sunshine, tropical weather, French and English. So it should be great. Yeah.
Oh, and Beverly says she spent 8 years in Africa, and they know Mauritius is fantastic.
Yeah, I know it is. Yeah. And the expat community is fantastic too. It's very easy to settle. So yeah, I mean, the non-Mauritians are either French or South African, and I am both French and South African. So it will be very, very easy for me. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's great. Well, congratulations. A big move.
Thank you. Yeah. Anyway, let's meet on the weekend. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Cool. Okay.
All right, thanks,
I'll stop
Bruno.
sharing now. Okay, anytime.
Well, let's see. Who else can talk about what they're doing? Um, well, I hate to pick on you, Dan. I know you're here and you'll talk. Most people don't. So just wondering how things are going for your trading.
Yeah. Well, things are, fine. We're going to be out of town next week, so I have pared down some of my trades. You know, I spend, pardon me, a couple hours in the morning day trading the NQ as always. That's been going really well. And, you know, I have been fairly modest profit targets. I've been making between 200 and 400 a day, and that's really all I want on a one lot. I seem to have worse luck when I trade a 2 lot, even though I know that's what the pros all do. But I don't like to do that because NQ can move a lot. And I have just one road trip and a couple of 132 flies. And then I'm also focusing on doing some directional trades on equities, but I actually don't have any on them now, except well, let me share this, and it would be a little bit easier. And I don't want to take a lot of time on this, but I'll share this. Let's see here, share, okay, share. So what that's the futures that I just made a couple trades this morning. So one thing I do is I have this grid here of 20. Well, I can't count the transportation index. So I've got 19 ETFs here. And I'm looking for, these are daily charts, each one of them. And I'm just sort of eyeballing for situations in which an ETF is overbought or oversold. And I correlate that with general market data, which I keep in another grid. And so, for example, I bought a put. I bought some puts on the XLI and the, which is, where is XLI? I'm right there, because I think we're overbought. And for my other market internals, which I'll show that grid in a second, I think we're getting overextended yet again. And so I bought some puts on that. And if we drop off, I will sell. I'll cover those long puts with some shorts to make it as close to a zero cost trade as possible. Probably won't hit it exactly. And then it'll be a low cost or zero cost, if I'm lucky, debit spread. And I did the same on the XLF. Again, we're coming up to a double top here. And just to finish up, one of the things that, you know, I look at my grids here, and once again, I've shown this before, the equity put call ratio, the 10-day moving average, is once again back down near the critical 0.8. This purple is the S&P. And you can see the last time that you know, happened. Sometimes it takes a while, but we came off. So I think we're perhaps a bit overextended. I know there's a lot of chatter out there that we're going to make, you know, phenomenal new highs, but every time I hear that, I get a little nervous. And then the new high, new lows are, you know, up again for a 6-month period. And, you know, the up volume versus down volume, the breadth, you know, everything is pointing towards the sky, which makes me think we're going to drop off. So anyway, that's sort of what I've been doing. And I guess if you want me to, I can quickly show a couple of my, I mean, everybody has seen 80 million road trips.
Oh, it's always nice to see one from Dan Harvey.
Yeah, well, no, not, I mean, oh, I see what the problem is. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. So this is, yeah, this is one that I put on recently, and I added a little debit spread in front of it. And I put this one on for a credit, and I haven't made any adjustments. It's only been on a couple of days, so I've got a thou of credit sitting there, and I will add another debit spread if I have to. Maximum loss that I will take on this will be about 1,200, but hopefully won't need that. And then, so that's, and then I have, a couple of 132s. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, well, this is just a zero cost debit spread far out of the money. It's obviously not going to hit, but I put this on at the zero cost by buying the long and then covering it when we dropped off. So maximum loss $5. That's just a lottery ticket sitting there. It was probably not going to do anything. Okay, this is a 132 with a little debit spread added. Did this for 575 credit. Naturally, I'd like to take a little more. And then this one is just sitting there. I've got about 2,000 of profit in it, and I may take a few more of these out. I'm not going to make any more money, but I'll be glad to take the 2,000. And then just this morning, I put a 132 on the rut because the rut had dropped off today. And so I thought I'd take advantage of that. So I put this on for 770 credit. It's a 132, just a two lot, 264, and then a debit spread. So that's basically all I've been doing. Nothing exciting here.
Oh, looking good.
Yeah, I mean, mainly I like the, since I'm trying to simplify everything and minimize the number of strategies and trades that I do, and because, basically retired now from pretty much everything except my own personal trading. And so trying not to do too much. And, but I'd like to, focus the first couple hours on day trading the NQ. It's profitable, and I actually enjoy that. I find that sort of challenging. So, and then I try to get away from the computer, after that.
Sounds like a good plan. We have an interesting speaker tomorrow that you might be interested in. It's Peter Davies from Jigsaw Trading. He's their software is designed around order flow for day traders, but he's going to be talking about order flow, and that should be a pretty interesting talk. It's an interesting software. I've got a copy of it and I'm playing around with it. It's I'm trying to get used to watching order flow, but obviously a lot of day traders use it. But they said that I talked to Fernando, who works with him. Actually, he's just in the Lisbon area, which is kind of funny. But we had about an hour talk, and he said a lot of swing traders also use order flow to help time their entries and exits.
Well, yeah, I won't be able to make that live, but I will watch it. But yeah, I mean, like on my futures, I don't have whatever he's going to show. I don't have anything that sophisticated. And actually, just looking at the time and sales, that's really no good here for most platforms, because you're actually 30 minutes or even more delayed for the time and sales numbers that you get. So I don't really like that, but what I do like, I have this volume indicator, which is free. It's on Thinkorswim anyway. Sorry, not the volume indicator, the momentum. And so so I can see when orders are, increasing. And I also see it over here on the volume of 1 minute. And you can get actually a very good idea. For example, I'll often see when we're at an extreme here. So like, for example, at this point, I would probably have gotten the volume signal. Not that they're selling anymore. The buyers are now coming in. So I'll look for things. Well, you can kind of see it. See right there, it picked up with that yellow bar. But those aren't sellers. Those are buyers. And there's a green bar. Those aren't sellers. Those are buyers. And so these are the kinds of things that I key on, as well as my other indicators. But if he has a real order flow that actually works, that would be very interesting. And obviously it does for him. I don't know if it's available for retail traders. We'll see. So I will tune into that.
Yeah, actually, I have it running. I can share my screen and show it to you real quick.
Yeah, okay, I'll stop.
Yeah, there we go. Let's see. Share my screen. I'm going to opt to view the background, but let's see, is that Delta? I still have to figure out how to use this thing. Okay, so this is I think they call it a Delta indicator. So that's the net buying and selling pressure, and I guess a lot of day traders use that Delta. But these columns, this is like your normal DOM. This inside blue and inside red column that you'd see like on NinjaTrader.
Mm-hmm.
I know this one is showing how many offers and how many bids are being changed. So there, just 4 just came off. So it kind of gives you like a trend of how things are going. You can see where all the orders are stacked up and how many orders have actually traded at the bid or the ask.
Yeah, but see, a lot of those numbers are being faked.
Yeah.
They're not, they're not serious. And
Yeah. The ones at the money are more serious than the ones that are farther away.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And just before I forget, to answer Rich's question here. Rich, the comments that I made were based on some information that I read. I can't actually verify that, but I read an article about time and sales data, and basically for most retail brokerage accounts, they're actually delayed a bit. So you can take that for what it's worth. It may or may not be true, but one thing I do know is that, like Tom was showing on the DOM there, yeah, the farther out of the money you get, they're just kind of sticking an order out there, and you can't really rely on any volume for that at all.
Right. It's only if it gets filled, then it's real. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he'll be on tomorrow, and he'll talk about order flow and how it works and everything. So I saw a presentation that he did on it. It was excellent. So it's worth watching even if you don't day trade, just to understand how it works. But anyway, he'll
I'll
be on.
probably see.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say that I won't be live, but I'll watch the recording. That looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, I figure it's always good to sharpen the toolkit a bit. So have somebody that's doing something a little bit different than what we normally do come on and talk about a different aspect of trading. It's always good.
Well, obviously, day trading is not. I mean, most people, hate it, and I only do it for a couple hours a day. But as long as I'm making money at it, I'm gonna, obviously, keep it up because it's kind of fun, and I make money nearly every day, usually between 4 and 5 trades. I think for today I'm up, I think 195, and I may squeak one more in, or I may quit. But reading some of the comments there from Rich and others, yeah, there are iceberg orders out there, and so they are playing with you. And also, when you start doing this on a daily basis, you can see that they are actually, the algos see what you put in. And, for example, that also depends on the time of day. For example, if you start trading, at only a half hour, we'll say the first half hour following the open, I mean, while you can make a lot of money, the risk is they'll all run your stops. So I never do that. They'll just run your stops. So like Rich was saying, you have to know your underlying and the way that it moves at various times of the day. And you have to know that the algos, are watching the same support resistance and fib levels that you are watching. They're watching the pivots, the same pivots that you are watching. And so I try to take advantage of that. I never try to fight the big boys. And, but what I have found for the NQ anyway, maybe a little less so for the E-mini or for the ES, but for the NQ, the window between 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock West Coast time, that seems to be the best. At 9 o'clock, that's noon in New York, so volume slows down, and then sometimes it'll pick up in the afternoon. So my window is basically 7 to 9.
Right. And the market opens at 6:30 your time.
Right, yeah. But
Yep.
so, I mean, it'll go crazy, but unless you have a super fast service, which you think or swim is adequate, but certainly not the fastest for peak times like the first half hour, what you're seeing on your chart is not actually what is happening.
Yeah.
It's like what what our fearless leader says. You may see it, but it's not really happening. But then around 7 o'clock, things start to settle down and the pattern starts to set up. So yeah, you got to be really careful about that if you're going to day trade futures, or really if you're going to day trade equities. Like a lot of people trade Amazon and Netflix, day trading it. And certainly you can do that. Again, working off key support and resistance levels. Moving averages are of minimal value. What the big boys key off are the support and resistance levels, as most people know.
Right.
So anyway, fake
Um,
data. Yeah, that's
yeah.
yeah, that's it exactly.
So it'll be interesting tomorrow. And then before we go, I just wanted to mention for the G tool, I modified. There was a bug on the records that were being shown. If it was over 50, it was defaulting it down to 10 or something. So that's been fixed. And I also am now grouping it. So the afternoon batch is kind of separated from the morning batch a little bit. And I think I make the default to 75 records, so that'll cover more than a whole day. So
Oh, good.
so the G tool is fixed in that regard. So yeah, I know you'd like to hear that. Yeah, thanks Gary for what you did and for adding to it. So it is even more useful than it was before, which was hard to believe. So thank you. Well, thanks everyone for participating, and good meeting as always. And again, Tim, I'll have the host key for you for next week's because I'll be on an airplane coming back to Colorado. And the roundtable tomorrow should be interesting. If you can't catch it live, then catch it recorded like Dan will. And hopefully the order flow concept will be better formed in our mind and see how we can maybe use it. So with that, good trading to everybody, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again.